problematic for the U.S. Department of Justice. One of the main witnesses in Assange's extradition case, Siggy Thordarson, admitted he made false claims against Assange in exchange for immunity from prosecution. This could cause a major shift for the WikiLeaks founder, who currently faces up to 175 years in prison if brought to the U.S.
Activist and former Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson joins us now to discuss Assange's case in detail. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We really want to get your thoughts on this. Ryan said in his introduction that this could mark a major shift in Assange's case. Do you think that's true? Do you think this revelation in particular, which does seem to be so major, will ultimately create a major shift in the momentum for Assange?
It should destroy it. It is far greater than the technical glitch on the part of the government that got Daniel Ellsberg's case completely dropped. This was corroboration that probably the U.S. government knew that it was making with a person who was not a major player in the WikiLeaks scandal. They were basically trumping up these charges in order to bring this case to the British government. It should destroy the case completely.
Yeah, and to give people the background here, what the Department of Justice has tried to do is separate Assange from his role as a publisher, and try to imply or impugn that he's actually a hacker, that he's collaborating with hackers in order to extract information and then publish it. And then they can say, well, no, this is not a First Amendment case. We're just going after a traitorous hacker, even though how can he be traitorous to a country that he's not a citizen of is a completely other question. And so they were heavily relying on this on Siggy Thordarson to testify that Assange had participated in some hacking-like activity with regard to a bank in Iceland, which then they tried to use to buttress a claim that he collaborated with Chelsea Manning in extracting information from the U.S. military. But in fact, the chats with Chelsea Manning don't show that at all. All they show is Assange helping Chelsea Manning with source protection, with not getting caught. That's what all journalists are supposed to do with confidential informants. And anytime you read in the Washington Post, said three sources in the administration who requested anonymity for fear of reprisal, that's the exact same thing that we're doing. Assange was even pretty careful in those chats not to be soliciting specific information. His quote was something like, "Curious eyes are always interested in more information." Something very vague, which is almost what lawyers teach journalists to say. Of course, we're journalists. We're interested in public information, which is different than saying, please go into this file cabinet and take that particular document and hand it to me. So, Marianne, when you heard that Siggy here had been unmasked as having lied about Assange's role in hacking in the bank, what was your immediate reaction to that? Because you've been one of Assange's more outspoken advocates here in the U.S.
What I realized was that the U.S. government was willing to work with Thordarson to trump up these charges in order to bolster its case, in order to get the British government to let Assange come back. This is all in order for the United States government to continue its cover-up. This is what's important here. This is not really about Julian Assange. This is about the United States military wanting to cover up its war crimes. We need to talk about what Assange revealed here. What Assange revealed here was torture and rape and murder. What he revealed was up to 15,000 more civilian deaths than we had even known. What he revealed was Blackwater mercenaries who would indiscriminately murder civilian crowds, shoot into civilian crowds. What he revealed was the fact that there were up to 700 civilians, Iraqi civilians, who were killed for no other reason than that they got too close to checkpoints, and that we now know that many of those people were men trying to take pregnant women to the hospital. That's what's going on here. It has to do with the United States government in collusion with not collusion, but in partnership with the U.S. military. This is about the U.S. war machine, about the fact that it is a very, very big business. It is very well funded. We are not supposed to question the funding, and we are not supposed to question what they do. This is about their secretiveness and how they use classified documents to protect that secretiveness. Classified documents, this issue of classified documents, and they dump millions every year. The law says that the government is not supposed to just be able to classify a document because they find it inconvenient for the information to be out there. It is supposed to be classified only if they have proof that it is a danger to national security for the information to be out there. But because they classify it, journalists aren't able to say, well, why are you classifying it? Because then they say, well, we can't tell you because it's classified. That is what this is really about. And they're making it all about Julian Assange in order to freeze any journalistic questioning, any journalistic pushback or challenge to the secretiveness of the U.S. government. That's why we have a free press. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, the American people are supposed to be loyal to the principles on which our freedom stands. We are to be loyal to the principles of our democracy, not to our government, no matter what the government is doing. It is the most patriotic American thing to always be on guard, and vigilantly so, against overreach by the U.S. government. And nothing is more of an overreach than official secretiveness that is unnecessary except to protect its own malfeasance.
And that is getting at such an important point, which is that this is not just about the past, and this is not just about Julian Assange. This is about the future. It's about the present. So you ran against Joe Biden, who's really, I think, walked in lockstep with the neoliberal establishment for years on the Assange issue. I mean, he famously referred to him or compared him to a high-tech terrorist back in 2010, pursuing his extradition. Now, Assange's fiance has called on the Biden administration to free him. What would your message to the Biden administration or to Joe Biden himself be right now with this revelation hitting the public?
I think Joe Biden needs to make the same decision that President Obama made, which is if you go after Assange, then you have to go after the New York Times. Do you really want to do this, guys? I see this as a kind of trigger that the Biden crowd has about Hillary's emails. But Hillary's emails, if you have a problem on that issue, don't blame Assange, blame James Comey. So I hope that all of the noise that so many of us are making is an inconvenience to the Biden administration. I hope that more people are becoming aware of what this case is really about. And I hope that the Biden administration will begin to feel it's not worth their while. They need to drop this case. And also the U.S. government has now been caught. The Department of Justice has now been caught in this very, very illegal deal. This corroboration with Siggy Fedorsen. And the Icelandic government is having a problem with it. We, the American people, are having a problem with it. And I hope that the Biden administration will let this go.
Marianne Williamson, host of the Marianne Williamson podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us.